7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1.
Good evening. I'd like to call the December 17th board meeting to order. Please join me in saluting the flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move directly into the election of officers. We are first going to elect a president. I will hand the gavel over to whoever gets elected as president, and then we will go into the election of the vice president clerk. At this time, I will now entertain nominations for the office of the president.
I'd like to nominate Sally Green.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd be happy to nominate Sally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, congratulations, Sally.
All right.
The winner.
Yay.
Thank you for asking me to do this. I would like to entertain a motion to for the election of the vice president clerk.
I nominate Jamie Bray.
I'll second that.
Oh, it's me. Okay, I'll get this. Is there any further discussion or other nominations? All those in favor of electing Jamie Bray vice president clerk?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Abstentions? Okay. So C2, the establishment of the 2020 regular board monthly meetings. I think you've probably all read that, and we vote on that one. Yes. Would somebody like to make a motion on establishing the 2020 board meetings?
I move. Oh,
Go ahead.
I move to accept the calendar as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now for C3, we want to move to the appointment of board members to various committees. The first being the 2020 certificated matters. Somebody like to make a nomination for that person?
Would you and Andy like to continue that role? If so, I nominate you two.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I will have a comment on this. Last year.
Can I just ask if
Sure.
there's any further
Oh,
nominations?
go ahead.
Need a second.
And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Oh,
Really?
Yes. Last year we were told that it was time to have new ideas and appoint new members to these committees as certificated matters committee. That's fine. Now, I waited for a year. Now it's, I think it's time to, just like it was informed last year, to make new changes on these committees to express the same thing, express new ideas, new ideologies, and otherwise everything would continue the same. And I just don't think that's right. What I'm after is that, for example, I'm interested on the first committees. That's where I have the experience, and on the other ones, the other 5 or 6, I don't have the talent to do that. So my experience is on these 4 committees. On the first one,
Michelle?
It's my recollection that Board Member Delgado withdrew his name from all committees last year. Is that changed? Are you now saying you want to be part of committees?
No, that was last year.
That's what I'm asking.
This is
You're
now.
now saying you want to be part of committees?
On any of these 4, on the first 4. That's where I actually give more to the community than on the other ones. On the other ones are some of these are not do not meet or I'm just not familiar with them.
Rogelio, would you like to be the alternate to that committee?
I would.
Okay. I think we have a
Give a
vote.
second, yep.
So all those in favor of Andy and I as with Rogelio as an alternate, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And for the 2020 classified members, may I have a nomination for them?
I recommend the same slate for classified since they're so intertwined.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
And keeping Rogelio as alternate on that one too, or?
Are you okay with being?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The 2020 Management Supervisory and Confidential Employee Matters. I'll entertain nominations for 2 board members.
I'd like to nominate Jamie and Michelle with Rogelio as an alternate.
Any further nominations? All those in, are there any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And the 2020 County Committee on School District Organization election. I'd like to entertain nominations for those 2 seats.
Can I get a reminder of what that committee entails?
It doesn't meet that often.
I know. I can't remember what that committee does.
I don't think there's been any meetings for a while.
Is it called by the county, by
It's called by the
SBCO?
I think there was one meeting last year.
Oh, okay.
It's called by the county when there's a request for a district to reorganize.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
And there has not been any requests for any districts in Santa Barbara County to reorganize.
But we still need to have people on it.
Well, sorry. We need to appoint people because you never know when a district is going to decide to reorganize.
So I'd like to entertain nominations for the County Committee on School District Organization.
Rogelio, would you like to be on that again? You were on it last year?
Oh, he wasn't on that.
Oh, no, he withdrew
withdrew.
himself. Oh, would you like to be on that?
Yes.
Okay. Jamie?
We'll do that with him.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Jamie and Rogelio.
Would you be alternate, Andy?
Huh?
Would you be alternate?
Sure.
Okay. Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And for the 2020 Joint City Council Board of Trustees Committee, may I have nominations for those 2 appointees?
Would you like to do that again, Michelle?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay,
I can do it with Michelle if nobody else wants to. Or
sure.
We only met once last year.
Yeah. Well, I'd be happy being an alternate, if that's okay.
Any further nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so for the 2020 Children's Project Thrive Carpinteria, I have sat on that committee for a number of years. I don't know.
I'd like to nominate Michelle
Okay.
if you've
Yes,
got
that
the
would be
time.
great.
Yeah.
I'll always say yes to that one.
You can put me down for an alternate.
Okay.
All right.
Any further nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. The 2020 member of California School Board Association Legislative Network, just one nominee. May I have a nomination?
You want to do that?
Okay.
Anybody else want to do it?
What is
Oh,
the definition, actually, the actual definition of this committee?
I think it's tracking the legislation and reporting back to the full board.
You want to do that?
I'm happy to do that.
I'll let
All
you
right.
do it.
Michelle. I nominate Michelle.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of nominating Michelle as the member of the California School Board Association Legislative Network?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Sorry,
Oh,
I missed the question.
No, we did them individually.
So we'll go to the closed session report. I'd just like to report out that for D2A, a public employment government code section 54957, the board approved the contract for renewal for the superintendent. Thank you. Also, we discussed at D2B, a liability claim for insurance-related joint powers agency against the district, and the board unanimously denied the claim against the district. There's also a D2C was a student matter, student case 181901, and again, the board unanimously approved the expungement of records for this child. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the last meeting?
Move to approve?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. And I'd like to have a roll call. Jamie Clerk?
We gotta get a motion first.
Oh, sorry. Is
I'm-
there a motion to approve the minutes?
Oh, for the consent.
No,
agenda.
the consent agenda.
Oh, the consent agenda.
I move to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
All right.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Okay, it's a roll call, Jim.
Michelle?
Aye.
Rogelio?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Sally?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Thank you. We don't have a student representative here.
Finals.
I will go to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So in my report, I'm going to start with some board recognitions. I'd like to begin with the high school in Rincon. On behalf of Principal Corneo, he'd like to recognize all the fall coaches for their dedication to the education of the high school students. Students participating in extracurricular activities learn time management, commitment to achieving a goal, problem solving, teamwork, and sportsmanship. Our coaches are an integral component to our overall education program at the high school. On behalf of CMS, Principal O'Shea would like to recognize Erica Dominguez. She's our instructional assistant for the ELD program. Erica is a compassionate educator who works with the newcomers as well as other ELD students, supporting them in the general education classes as they adjust to a new school, new friends, and a new language. On behalf of Canalino and the Family School, Principal Pursoon would like to recognize Christina Bayless, Krista Munizic, Andrea Edmondson, Melody Aguilar, Julia Wheatley, Karen Parker, and Christina Garcia for joining Principal Jamie Pursoon to visit Franklin School in Santa Barbara. During the visit, the team learned a lot about the systems and schedules that support student learning and reinforced that student achievement is directly linked to the quality and consistency of teacher instruction. Principal Fox would like to recognize Jim Pettit, our maintenance supervisor, for his outstanding support. Since day one, he's made it a priority to address any maintenance needs quickly and efficiently, and he always has a solution to school site problems. He's positive and outgoing, and we appreciate how he always works hard to help other things work smoother for staff and students. Also, on behalf of Principal Fox and Summerlin, she would like to recognize Jamie McDuffie, our new 4-5 teacher. After only a short time, Jamie, with her upbeat and fun attitude, has become a valued member of the Summerlin team. Her classroom is an active learning environment, and her students are engaged in their learning. Jamie is an experienced educator, and she has contributed many ideas to improve our school system-wide. So thank you. And then continuing with the appreciation, we are so grateful for the office coordinators at our schools who ensure that all families and staff are well served and supported. Letty Garcia at Catalino and Family School, Judy Holler at Summerland, Chris Carpanco at Aliso, Cruz Martinez at the middle school, Florence White and Griselda Carmona at Pupil Services. Currently, the high school is hiring a new office coordinator this month. I have some information regarding student learning. The National Computer Science Education Week was December 8th through the 15th, and our students participated in the Hour of Code activities. At the middle school in 8th grade science, students enjoyed a roller coaster engineering project. Students collaborated with their group to design the most fun, reliable roller coaster with time constraints and within a materials budget. They applied their knowledge of Newton's laws, potential and kinetic energy, and force to design a roller coaster that a marble could successfully travel from beginning to end over 5 trials. They measured the distance the marble traveled and timed the trials and used this to calculate the average speed of the marble. At Catalino, students participate in the after-school STEM club, and they're learning about electrical circuits, building mini robots, developing coding skills, and experimenting with exothermic chemical reactions. The STEM Club is a unique combination of support and enrichment centered around helping students develop a solid mathematical foundation while engaging in science, engineering, and technology activities. Our last item is about our SEALS program, and that is our Success and Education of Adult Learning Skills program. Our schools greatly benefit from strong school community partnerships, and we are grateful for the community's commitment to enhance learning opportunities for our youth. These partnerships have resulted in sharing and maximizing resources to ensure academic and social success for all students. And in the post-secondary special education program, SEALS, community partnerships contribute to the transition to adulthood in the work world. SEALS serves young adults ages 18 to 22 with multiple disabilities such as autism, intellectual impairments, and visual impairments. The special education students, special ed teacher, and instructional assistants meet every day in a classroom at Main School to learn independent living and work-based skills in order for the students to lead a meaningful and successful post-school life. The special ed staff works with the students to identify preferences, interests, and strengths and goals to help them design post-school plans that are individually tailored, invested in, and successfully completed. Students learn typical job skills, working through challenges, getting along with coworkers, communicating effectively, managing time, and staying on task. Inclusion in community activities and workplaces provides an authentic context for the SEAL students to practice and refine these skills during the 4 years that they're enrolled in the program. This fall, the SEAL students worked in a variety of community settings, such as the Carpinteria Garden Park, Carpinteria Middle School After-School Program, and the Catalino and Aliso school libraries. These community partnerships are essential in providing opportunities for SEAL students to participate in internships, volunteer opportunities, and work-based learning during the instructional day. Young adults with disabilities face multiple challenges in the pursuit and retention of employment, and school community partnerships play a vital role in expanding opportunities for our post-secondary students with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to introduce, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Michelle Fox from the principal at Aliso School and the gate coordinator, Teresa Kuntz, who are going to have the students present Project Lead the Way, Robotics and Automation. How exciting. Thank you all for coming.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, thank you. I'll be in charge of that right now. So we're excited to be here tonight and just to share some of the fabulous learning that is happening throughout our 4 schools in Carpinteria Unified. Ms. Kuntz and I are joined by some of our students from Aliso. We have Janelle, Annalena, Malachi, Sammy, Jackie, Naomi, Julie, Asiri, Ashley, and Vicky. And they're all going to do part of the presentation tonight. So Mrs. Kuntz has been working with GATE students in all 4 elementary schools on robotics and Project Lead the Way. So tonight we're going to provide an overview of what that looks like. So Just to begin with, we're going to kind of back up a little bit and talk about the 4 C's. We're always looking for ways that to continually challenge our students and help them prepare for their for situations that they'll encounter in their educational career and as well as their professional career. To do that, we look at the 21st century skills, and those are listed up there: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. So for critical thinking, we want our students to ask questions and become engaged in the world around them. And as you'll see tonight, you'll see how that works with Project Lead the Way and the robotics program that they're doing. We also want them to think outside the box and look at problems from multiple perspectives and think differently. And you'll see that too. We also, through their educational and professional career, we want them to be able to collaborate, because they're going to do that throughout their life, learn how to work with other people. So that's happening in all the lessons that they're learning. And then finally, we would want them to be able to communicate effectively and be able to share ideas efficiently. So those are the 4 C's that you'll see that we focus on. So why robotics and technology? It's around us every day, and it's not going away. So we want to make sure that our students have opportunities. You can see that bioengineering, we have robot-assisted surgeries, we have technology in our cars. It's everywhere. So we're giving our students those opportunities to prepare for that. And we're very thankful to be able to do that. It was a big help from these generous people, Project Lead the Way, Chevron, and CEF, who have helped provide us with the training and the materials to present these to our students.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what Project Lead the Way is, and just kind of talk to you a little bit about how we're implementing in our schools. So first of all, it's an American nonprofit organization that provides STEM curriculum that enables teachers to empower their students to gain the skills they need in college, career, and beyond. So they kind of set up the trainings and provide the curriculum base that teachers are able to use. So as far as what it offers to our students, it offers pathways in computer science, engineering, and biomedical science. The activities are engaging, they're hands-on. Students have to use their knowledge and skills and solve real-world problems. Some are local, some are global challenges. Hopefully, if everything goes as planned, it will inspire them to have new career paths. And as we talk about, often we don't even know what we're training our students to do in the future. As far as educators, as many of you know, last summer, Dr. Fox and I were invited to attend the Project Lead the Way training in San Diego. There we met with many educators from all over and participated in the Launch Core training. We were introduced to the curriculum and the materials, working in teams. We actually participated as students, so we really had to, we had an opportunity to really feel how it feels to be a student interacting with various grade levels of material. Often there were struggles, there were lots of victories, a little bit of competition now and then, but it was a really great experience. Following up on that, as I've implemented the program, I've utilized a lot of the online resources that it provides. Almost weekly, I get an update, and in that update, teachers collaborate and offer ideas on different things that they're doing in their classrooms that have been successful. One example was there was a teacher who created labels for the VEX IQ kits. And if anybody has seen those kits, there are about 1,000 pieces in every kit, and they can easily be mixed up and lost. So keeping them organized was really important. So I was able to download those labels, laminate them, and I had a student at Summerlin who graciously cut all the labels out for me at home. And now our kits are up and running. I've also received personalized support from Yadira Guerrero, who is our Project Lead the Way Director of School Engagement. She came out, she was in that picture that you saw earlier, and she joined us for a day, and she's very nice about responding right away when I have questions, and even if they're silly questions. So we always open up by saying, welcome scholars. As I mentioned, Project Lead the Way offers a structured, standards-based foundation for our teachers to instruct STEM lessons. However, I've also found that it allows the opportunity for teachers to extend and personalize the curriculum. So, for example, during my instruction, I integrate many of the gifted education strategies, which include the scholarly traits, the prompts of depth and complexity, which you see on the top, the content imperatives below, the idea of think like a disciplinarian, where we get students thinking like marine biologists or computer scientists or artists. And then finally, presentation skills, because I feel like it's so important for our children to learn to get up in public and speak, even when we're all nervous, right? So this year, as I mentioned, I'm instructing the robotics and automation unit in my groups. Soon, I understand that teacher Curtis Johnson will be implementing an advanced version of this unit at the Carpinteria Middle School, and that will be integrated as part of his tech class. But each unit opens with posing a question to the students. Our robotics unit says, when you think of a robot, what comes to mind? Is the robot you considered more like a human or a machine? Just what is a robot anyways? So the next thing the students do is to read about a real-life situation in which the characters are their own age. The three students are Milo, Angelina, and Susie. When the students start with the program in pre-K, Milo, Angelina, and Susie are their own age, and they grow up with our students each year as they progress through the curriculum. The reading is online, so each child has an account that they log into, and then we read together sometimes. Sometimes we read independently. There's a feature where they can take notes. At this point, with the younger students, we aren't using that feature as much, but it is there, which is great. So, and I'd like to go into what kind of where our curriculum takes us to the point where we are actually creating a robot. So I'd like to invite Malachi up. He's going to share a little bit about the story that we've been reading and the problem that our students are currently working on. So this is Malachi.
Hello, my name is Malachi Castaneda, and I would just like to thank the school board and Dr. Fox for letting me have this opportunity to share about the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. So basically what happened in March of 2011, there was a 9.0 earthquake that struck off the coast of Japan, and the aftermath was a devastating tsunami that flooded the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. Because of radiation, it was too dangerous for humans to enter, so they had to send 3 robots inside in the place of humans. Those 3 robots were the 710 Warrior, the Packbot, and the Quincy 2. Each one of those were used for a specific thing. One of them was used to collect samples of the radioactive dust. Another one was to have surveillance and take pictures of the site, and the other one was to collect samples. And even though the robots came in there and removed some of the hazardous material from the power plant, even today it is still leaking. And I'm just happy that today we can have cleaner energy sources like solar-powered and wind-powered energy. Thank you.
Good job, Milo. Thank you.
So as you can see, that's our story that the children start off with. And then our 3 friends in the story have to figure out a solution on how to help with that. And so that's what we're also working on. So the next step we went into was our KWL chart. And I've got a couple people to come up for that.
Do you want to pull that in front of the podium? Maybe we
Yeah, we'll hold it. You guys can talk. Okay.
Hi, my name is Jackie, and I'm going to be talking about the KWL chart. As you can see here, this represents of what we want, what we know, what we want to know, and what we want to learn. My name is Ashley, and an example of the KWL chart from what we know is robots are machines that help humans. From what we want to know is can they do homework? And then something that we learned was that robots can help companies when they need help.
Great. Thank you.
Nice job. Thank you, girls.
Okay, so from there, we went into robot research. So I'm going to have my robot researcher come on up.
Hi, my name is Elena, and I'm going to be telling you about the steps we took. First, we read an article that's called Robot Facts for Kids, and we sort of learned about the history of robots and how Leonardo da Vinci created a night robot in 1495. And we also learned how in the world there are people accept robots maybe as they might think that they're dangerous, and others might think that they're helpful to humans, others might think they're a threat. And we also, in the article, we highlighted the subjects in pink to help us find them easier. And in yellow, we highlighted the details, the important details to help us remember them. And in blue, we highlighted the important numbers to tell us, like, in what year the first robot was made. And then we took cornell notes in our lunch logs. And then I'm going to show you guys a lunch log. On the first page of our lunch log, we put our KWL chart, and we wrote a few things that we learned. And on the second page,
Want to show them? Okay, so just show them. To hold it up and show them. Okay.
and then on the second page, we wrote about the robot, and then about its forms, the history of it, the modern robots, the Eastern, the Western, and the laws of the robots.
And those were Cornell notes that we're doing.
And then on page 3, we did conclusion questions, and we answered the questions that were on there. And on page 4, we did a test bed reflection about how we worked together on when we built the robots. We wrote about how we worked together.
Very good job.
Okay. So using the information that they did, they then went on to present, to prepare some Google slides. So you want to come up and explain? Introduce yourself.
My name is Janelle, and how we made our Google Slides research and presentations. First, we described the research we did. We selected one type of robot to research. We took notes about the robot in our launch log, and we created Google Slides presentation. And in the end, we got to present the information. A fact that I learned from my Furby report is that a robot can do anything if you program it the right way. And how we gave our presentation was a couple of people came over to our school, and we presented to them, and yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, think like an engineer.
My name is Vicky, and we are learning about engineers. Engineers are problem solvers who use their expertise in science and math to do their jobs. There are many kinds of engineers.
There are computer science engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and robotics engineers.
Today, in one of our lessons, we were talking about how engineers need to be very patient people. We were having a bit of frustration when our robots were not working. And I talked about how engineers have to keep trying and going back and assessing the situation. I also shared that I am not an engineer, and sometimes I get impatient with the projects too. So anyway, so as you can see, there was a lot of research that went up to the point where we actually started to go on. Oh, and I almost forgot the design process. So come on up.
Hi, my name is Naomi, and I'll be explaining the design process. First, what engineers have to do is follow the design process, and when they do this, first they must ask, then they must explore, then they have to model it, they have to evaluate, and then they have to explain it.
Hi, my name is Etsiri, and in class we were asked to imagine being able to create our own robot that could do anything. Then we used the design process that Naomi explained to study our robot. For example, I wanted to build a robot that could do my homework. I asked, how could I program it to write and understand numbers and letters? Then I explored the model I drew. Next, I evaluated the design, and then I explained to people how my robot worked.
Very good. Thank you, ladies.
So again, we had a nice foundation, and then we got to get out the VEX kits. So the VEX IQ kits are really quite amazing. As I said, 1,000 pieces. But the kids have been really good about keeping them together and using them properly. Whoops. So we worked on the building, and they use a program called Fusion 360 that actually is an online program that gives them a step-by-step video on how to construct their design. It goes into 3D models. They can spin it. They can look at it from different angles. It's pretty neat. So each group built a test bed, and they began learning about some of the features that are in the kit. For example, the robot brain, the motors, the bumper switches, the touch LED, color sensors. And now they'll use those components as they create their future designs. So once we got everything up and running, it was a very exciting day. And so trying out the product was one of our happiest moments. But as you can see, it ties together those 21st century skills that Dr. Fox referred to earlier, where we're using critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. So the last thing I wanted to do was just give you guys a chance to see how the test beds work. And so maybe if you kids want to come up and help me. Quickly, these are already assembled, so you don't have to spend an hour assembling them. They are better at this than I am. Do you have an extra battery? found out you can walk the dog with the robots on this stage.
Maybe walking Malachi with it?
Yeah. So the other features that we're not going to do tonight just because they have to change cables, but it has a bumper switch that will stop the engine from running. It has an LED touch switch that will change colors. With the color cubes, they'll put them under that kind of this little part right here, and it'll change the color. It will match. And today we discovered that if you're wearing blue shoes, it'll actually go to blue also. We were only experimenting with red and green today, and then somebody put their blue shoe under and it went to blue. So it's very cool. We're having a lot of fun exploring and learning about these.
And are they're learning the component parts and what the names of different components are?
So we're learning what the different parts are so that when they start to build their own designs, they'll know what they need and what they want to use. Each kit comes with giant lists of what everything is, and then again, each bag has all the different parts in them. So well, we could play here all night.
Yeah.
Perhaps you want to come and visit us. And join us. Okay. Oh, you got the color switch on. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and put the hardest thing is cleaning up, but.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and put these away, and maybe we can take a photo with our board members. Would that be fun?
And the contributors as well.
Yeah.
Chevron and Carp Education Foundation and Project Lead the Way.
You don't need
Do we want to stay or go down there?
Let's go down there.
Don't worry, I'll take care of it.
Nice job. Nice job. Wonderful job.
Oh, they put it in the good picture.
We haven't seen this picture yet. Why don't you back up?
Gosh. 1, 2, 3, robot. Oh, good. 1, 2, 3, robot. I think we got it. Nice job.
Thank you. Your presentation was your daughter, all your daughters did very well. Yeah. Good. I'd love to catch up with you sometime.
Nice job.
Yeah. And ask her if she'd be doing a baser bar. She always said she wanted to do a baser.
Well, I would really like to thank Chevron and Carp Education Foundation and Project Lead the Way, Ms. Kuntz and Dr. Fox, and thank you. And children, you were amazing.
Guys were
Thank you
great.
very much.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, look at all these proud.
I know.
For our future engineers.
Exactly.
Fourth and fifth.
Gate.
Yeah.
This program's only for the gay kids?
Pardon me?
This is only for the gay
Yes.
students?
I think so.
No, it's for everybody.
Oh, everybody?
We're piloting right now.
Got
We're
it.
trying it out.
Okay.
And then it will be for
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
What are you doing that thing?
That'll lead nicely into everything that's going on at the high school now.
Monica, is there any public comment on
Yes, we have one. Jamie Diamond.
Oh, okay. Welcome, Jamie.
Good evening. So I've been thinking a lot about the budget and the ongoing issues with budget, and one thing that kind of came up to me that popped into my mind was how much the district has, and not just our district. This isn't a problem specific to our district, but districts in general across the state. The big problem with unpaid lunch debt. And since the most recent legislation, since that's in the past, has made it impossible to collect unpaid lunch debt. Carpinteria, as far as I know, has never denied a student a lunch. We've all heard about those horror stories where kids get a stamp on their hand or a sticker on them, or they've been given a different type of lunch. As far as I know, Carpinteria has never done that. And I'm so grateful that we have such an amazing community that takes care of our kids and makes sure that they have full bellies, because we know that kids learn better when their bellies are full. So the problem, though, is why aren't people paying their lunches? What are the reasons behind it? And a few that come to mind, even besides the legislation, is some people don't realize they have to fill out paperwork for the free or reduced lunch. Some people feel maybe they have special circumstances and they just technically didn't qualify, but they're going through something and they just can't make it, so they don't. Some people I've heard in the last or two school years, they're afraid of all the information that they have to give on there, and they're afraid of immigration status concerns, and they don't feel it's safe to fill it out. And some people just feel like they're entitled to a free lunch, and that's on them. But the biggest problem that statewide districts are seeing is that because people feel like, oh, well, we don't have to pay it anyway, so why even bother fill out the form? What happens is the school districts aren't getting reimbursed for those people that would have qualified for a free or reduced lunch, but they aren't filling out the paperwork, so you aren't getting credit for it as a district. You're not getting reimbursed the federal funds. And so this year alone, I have some numbers. Our district, from September to November, 3 months only, is almost $18,000 in debt on lunch. So as that rolls out through the school year, that's $54,000 in debt, assuming everything stays as is and more people don't pay. And that's a problem in a district where we're struggling to keep things going with the budget as is, and this is not something that's recoverable. That's the biggest problem. It's an unrecoverable thing. It must be paid from general funds. It can't be used from federal funds. And so we need to start looking ahead and talking to other districts, I feel, about what they're looking at and what they're doing to help mitigate this. Whether it's finding a company that, maybe a big distribution company that wants to help subsidize this, or reaching out to community. Do we need to have another fundraiser? Like, what do we need to do so that we aren't having to essentially lose an aid? I believe that's close to the cost of a full-time aide for the year, or whatever their equivalent is. So, and that's concerning. That's really concerning when we're already in the environment we're in with our budget. So I just want to put that out there to not just you, but the community at large. And I know that you have a network of other districts that you can reach out to and talk and say, hey, what are you doing about this? What do you see coming down the pipe that could help us in this? And it's something that I think we really need to look at, because the trend that I've been reading in different reports is that districts are seeing more and more people say, hey, it doesn't matter, so I'm not even going to bother filling it out. And if more people keep not filling it out, keep feeling like they don't have to pay it, we're going to be in a bigger problem than we already are with this. So thank you for your time, and not to add one thing to your plate, one more thing, but I think it's something we can agree is the number in and of itself right out of the bag isn't like this huge number, but it will be. And so we need to do what we can to mitigate that before it gets to that point. So thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And we move on to business and operations and facilities. And what is it? L? L1 is warrants. May I have a motion to approve the warrants for this month?
Move to approve the warrants from October 21st through the 13th of December.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And I2 is gifts, grants, and donations. The first one being a donation from CHS Boosters Club to CHS Athletics General Fund for ASB. May I have a motion to approve the $9,000 donation?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in
great.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I-2B is a donation from the Lamberti family to Carpinteria High School Future Farmers of America through the ASB Club account. And the donation is in the amount of $200 from the Lamberti family. May I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Was there any discussion on that?
Well, I'd just like to thank Jerry and Ashley for that. That's very generous.
Are there any objections? Okay, and I-2C is a donation from Elizabeth Ann Watkins to Carpinteria High School Future Farmers of America Club in memory of Grace Young. And the board is asked to accept the donation of $50 from Elizabeth Watkins. Is there a motion?
Move to approve with gratitude.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And a donation from the Outhwaite Charter Trust via Carpinteria Boosters Club. And this is a donation for $20,000 to the Boosters Club for CHS ASB student aid.
Move to approve with gratitude. Outhwaite Foundation's been
Very generous.
very generous with our district.
I know this goes for a variety of things.
Yes, typically it supports fees, like AP exam fees or any fees that students are having difficulty paying individually.
Second.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Andy. We got a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now, I-3 is Resolution 19856 of the Governing Board Delegation of Governing Board Powers, Duties, Authority to make cash and budget transferred. The board is asked to adopt the Resolution 19856, which authorizes superintendent and assistant superintendent to make cash and budget transfers. I have a motion?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And the second reading.
Excuse me, it's a
sorry.
roll call with a
Oh, sorry.
resolution.
Sorry. Roll call, Jamie.
Oh, it's a
Michelle.
resolution.
Aye.
Rogelio.
Aye.
Sally.
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Thank you. I-4 is the Baylor property sale second reading. I have a motion? Second. Jamie? Roll call?
I have
That's roll call also.
Any discussion? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
no. Oh,
discussion.
it's the second reading. Okay. You
have
have a question?
Yes, I actually have a comment on this. I was wondering if, because there's two major associations right there on Casitas Village Association and the other one on the Del Mar. So I was on that. Those two associations are in charge of roughly 250 condos, thousands of people. So I was wondering if they have been contacted, because we're talking about a major approval, and I think that those two associations have to be contacted.
To sell their property?
Correct, because thousands of people are going to be going through this process. So, I mean, when is the district planning on doing it, or the legal, or
And the associations and not through us and associations.
correct, or when are they going to be informed about what's happening?
Of the
Correct.
associations.
Or no, it's the other way around.
I don't feel that we have the need to do that.
When a district sells property, there's requirements of notifications, which we have followed. So there's been notifications in the newspaper that we followed, and then the publication of the board agenda and the first and second reading. So we followed all the requirements to notify the public. Now, it's up to board members who have been elected to talk to constituencies and constituents about any vote that you're going to take at the board. So my question is, have you all talked to, if you're concerned?
I have, and,
okay,
and
share the knowledge.
My comment is that just like a good neighbor, it would be a good idea to actually inform them.
Well,
Otherwise,
we have though. We have public. This is our second public forum that anyone who had concerns over this issue could come and speak to us directly, or they could email us. Write us a letter. I haven't heard anybody. I haven't heard any comments from anybody about this.
Have you received any comments?
yes, actually.
So now would be the time to share them.
Yeah, they're wondering about the process, and that is why like 2 weeks ago or so, someone in opposition of this because noise problems and with thousands of people coming to that neighborhood, eventually.
Thousands?
Yeah, how many condos are we talking about through the Santa Barbara?
I can't imagine it'd be thousands. I think this is. We don't really know what they're proposed yet. So
yeah, I mean, what I mean is that those. I mean, I'll inform about what those alternatives. That's just like an.
But we don't know. It's not it's not our project. All we're doing is selling a piece of property. We're not developing it.
Yeah.
We own a piece of
but
property.
whoever is in charge of the
and that will
developing that will come up.
There will be so much public
their due
input.
diligence.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's the incorporation into the city that probably will happen. There's the coastal development permit that will happen. There's the planning process that will happen. There's the architectural board of review that will happen. So I think that to say that the public isn't going to be involved is really not understanding the process. So the process is designed to allow public to have participation.
Okay.
So at this point, we're just voting to sell a piece of property. That's all we're doing.
Each party has to do the due diligence.
Yes.
So there's two steps. There's selling of the property and developing the property. Our responsibility in selling the property, we have followed the due diligence in notifying the public about selling the property. Now, once we've sold it, as Craig mentioned last time we were together, the developers have a huge process to follow that has many, many opportunities for the public that you're speaking about who are going to be directly affected to have input. And that will be their requirements. Those are legal requirements, actually, for the developer. But I'm confident that we have followed our legal requirements in terms of the sale process.
All right.
Okay. So we'll move on to our first interim report.
We need to approve it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I thought you said there wasn't. Okay. God, I'll get there. May I have a motion on the Baylord property, please?
We have the motion.
Oh, in a second?
Yep.
Okay, we had discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Maureen, would you like to give us the first interim report?
Okay, so here we are, first report of the new year. Actually, it's halfway over, not really new anymore. Some of the beginning slides are very introductory, the same thing I use just to provide information. These are the reporting periods that we have to follow per Ed Code. We're at the first interim period, which are actuals through October 31st, and we're required to have this to our county Office of Ed, which we've already submitted prior to the meeting, by December 15th. There's 3 different certification criteria: positive, qualified, negative. They're defined here. We're suggesting this is a positive report. And I added a slide this year because I think this is something that doesn't get shared very often, and it has to do with our reserve levels and what we're required to have under AB 1200 or Ed Code. Reserves are categorized by your ADA or the size of your district. So there's 5 different criteria here for a reserve percent, and we're kind of in the middle. Districts from 1,001 ADA to 30,000 ADA require a 3% reserve. So when we talk about that 3% reserve, this is how it's determined, and it is part of Ed Code. So getting into some changes. Now, excuse me, some of this I brought to you in October in the budget update. Those have all been incorporated into this presentation, as well as any new changes that have taken place. Most substantially is it was about 4 weeks ago now, I received the estimated property taxes from the Santa Barbara County tax collector, and it wasn't good news. It was down about $114,000+ from projection. Some of this is a reduction of one-time money, about $80,000 worth. The challenge is I won't know what that is. They don't tell you what that is. It could be one-time impounds. It could be state levies that they've had to refund. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go on. And as far as the reduction is concerned, it's really difficult in a tax roll to determine if the reduction is due to lower sales, lower home sales versus prior year, or it could be the homes that did sell were not as expensive homes. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into this. So what we do, or what I do in my assumptions moving forward every time I get an estimate, is I take all of the components of our property taxes, secured, unsecured, homeowners exemption, and then there's some other ancillary taxes that are minimal, but then there's the one-time adjustments or prior year adjustments that happen every year. And they range from a positive 750, almost 60,000, which we got 2 years ago, which kind of inflated, to a negative 150, almost 200,000 in 1 year, a couple years ago. So it's all over the board on those prior year assessments, and that's the part that's very hard to predict. We're pretty level within a 1/4%. We're pretty level in our secured, unsecured, and homeowners from projection. It's usually the prior year swings that this happens to. But this is something that we're going to continue to monitor. We're probably not going to see much change between now and the spring P2 report that we get from the county somewhere around March. And then at year end, is early in July, is the last report we get, which is our final taxes. That's where we see whether or not that one time went up, down, or what they actually collected. We have a couple of other adjustments, some minor to our ADA funded categories, like our education protection account just went down $600. Federal revenue changed by about $4,900. This is all categorical. And some of these are the title programs that just had slight changes in funding for COLA. State changes to revenue. We, between mandated block grant, which is a per pupil amount, had a bump in their per pupil rate, and lottery, which had a pretty, I won't say significant, it had an increase on a per enrollment cost, funding level, both for restricted and unrestricted, and that gave us a little bit more money both for unrestricted lottery and restricted lottery of about $50,000. You'll see 23 here is the unrestricted part. And then we had some reduction to revenue in our categorical programs. And I'll tell you that there were a couple of the most significant reductions that impacted this negative $86,000. Our mental health under special ed, under our SELPA, was reduced by about $40,000. wrong direction. We lost from our after-school program about just under $60,000. So it impacted the categorical program significantly. And we were, it was a challenge to try to cover those shortfalls within other categorical programs, so the general fund didn't take the hit on those. The local revenue, on the good side, we received our final CISC, our self-insured group, Thomas Fire payment of $115,000. I actually wasn't expecting to get that paid, so I got that check. I'm like, woohoo! That kind of offset our property tax loss. And then some local revenues from CEF that bumped up the local categoricals. So total net change to our total revenue was a reduction of $23,515. Now the expenditure side, which again, I won't say is that great. However, it is what it is. We went through a lot of these in October, in the October update. So in October, I shared that we increased about $81,500 in expenditures, and those included everything down to the decrease of the classroom aid for vacancy placement assignments from the negative $13,728. And then subsequently, we had one more employee select into health and welfare. It was a part-time employee at a cost of $12,864, and one retiree that benefited from being here more than 20 years, and they get $3,500 a year for their retiree benefits. And then we adjusted some categoricals to the awards. So the expenditures went up $117,558. On page 7, it shows you how that affects our fund balance. It shows from the revised budget you saw in the October update until to the first interim how that changed. We are in our total general fund, we are deficit spending $334,013 this year. We have, going down the orange to the bottom of the page, we have our full 3% reserve plus some, but it's still a 4.24% reserve. It's positive, but it's not a number we all like to see. On page 8, it breaks down restricted and unrestricted. So of that $334,298 is unrestricted, $35,800 is restricted, and just to note on the restricted side, that's how you spend fund balance on the restricted side. So the negative doesn't necessarily mean you're not funded. That's how you spend multiple year grants. The general fund, however, means that we are spending more than the revenue coming in. And that is coming out of reserves. It is coming out of our fund balance. When you come down to the very bottom of the column under unrestricted, you see undesignated fund balance of $375,000. That's a small amount of money. It doesn't take a whole lot for that to get sucked into the budget if it's pretty tight, and this is a pretty tight budget. I updated this 5-year comparison year over year, and I think there's a couple things that are significant to point out here. When you look at the percent change year over year of revenue to expense, our expenses have significantly outpaced our revenues for the past 4 years. And when you look at change from 17-18 and 18 to 19, you can see it's like double. And then when you look at the change from 18-19 to 19-20, we reduced quite a bit, so that is not as dramatic. So the deficit has gone down for the unrestricted general fund, but it has not been reduced. It has not been eliminated. So it's not as bad as it was, but it's still a deficit. when we look at our actuals on page 10, this is the full budget, total general fund, side by side, and then the blue column are the actuals through October. And this is very consistent with what we saw last October. So if you note, we only receive about $2.2 million in revenue so far through October, but we've spent $7.5 million. So we have like a $5.2 million cash shortfall, where fund balance is important to have, because if you don't have fund balance, you don't have cash flow. We do have a TRAN, which is a temporary borrowing note that we go and authorize every spring for the following year so that we can borrow the cash until the property tax comes in. But we only had a $5 million TRAN, which we've eaten up already. So as our fund balance is spent down, our TRAN isn't sufficient. On top of the fact that both state and federal monies are not coming in at the same pace they've ever come in. For instance, we closed our books without $1 federal dollar for the whole year last year. That money only came in August and September. So some of the revenues we received were from last year, not from this year. And we still haven't received $1 federal dollar this year. So it gets very, very difficult year over year to try to manage our cash. And we're doing a good job, but it's very tight. Our history of property taxes. So I mentioned the 1 year we had like $750,000 of one-time assessed, one-time prior year adjustment come in, and that's a 17-18 year. You can see it was like an 8% increase. But then when 18-19 came into play, it didn't look like much of an increase because the prior had all that one-time money. So when you average the 2 years out, it's very much just below 5%. And also understand this is all tax criteria. It's not looking like I do analysis from secured over time, unsecured over time. So we do average net taxes about a 5% increase year over year. And so we haven't adjusted our percentage increase, even though this year we saw it go down to about a 4.4. A lot of that had one-time reductions in it from prior year. But we will continue to update this as it needs to be. Multi-year on page 12. We're at a 4.24% reserve this year. 2021, 22, we've updated property tax projections, step and column increases, statutory increases to property insurance and liability insurance and utilities, et cetera. We are looking at a 3.93 for 2021 and a 5.97 for 21-22. What happens in 21-22 is a result of the fact that in 1920 we have one-time money in there. It comes out the next year, and then it flattens out in the third year. So it's really skewed when we get one-time money that you have to take out of the next year projection. So it looks like it goes down. It's because of that, and then in the third year it kind of levels out. There are some state updates that there are the projected revenues from year-end close at the state level are higher than estimated, and there's talk that will be looking like it will come to districts in some form of one-time money. But there's also in the preliminary state budget plans and priorities, a lot of that's going to go geared towards early childhood education, LCFF additional funding. It doesn't look like we may get much, if not any of it. So I'll keep you updated on that. And then we have to look at the things that I'm cognizant of when I look at this budget. The things that are not in here are any negotiated salary increases. We're still negotiating. Nothing has been built in. The budget is really tight. There's not a lot of room in here. If you remember when we closed the books last year, there's a few things that brought the budget over. I'm watching it monthly. You're going to get monthly updates. Those things that come up, we will adjust as we go. The biggest unforeseen cost, that is something I can't anticipate, but we will monitor on a month-by-month basis, is the increasing cost of special ed. We know we have some non-public school placements coming up. We know we have some additional aid time that we're going to have to add. And I'm going to, what's not on here that I'll put out there also is, yes, our lunch revenues are down again, November. I just finished working on that Monday. Participation is down. We do have unpaid meal balances. We do have the reality that if applications aren't getting completed, we're not getting reimbursement. So there's a whole combination of things that are creating that program not to be solvent. On top of the fact that we have in the cafeteria fund also, many part-timers that didn't have benefits now have benefits. So all of those costs are impacting that program, and I'll be bringing to you probably in the January update what that could look like the rest of the year. We will start our budget development process for 1920 at the second board meeting of the month beginning January. That will be done at regular board meetings, so there won't be separate meetings. And that's my good news for tonight.
Thank you, Maureen. Very thorough. On to...
She needs a motion.
Oh, we need a motion to approve the interim report.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, you always have bad news.
It's
Always.
yeah. It's just the time of year my stomach just sinks. Because we're doing so much good work, and then but it's across the state, and just the legislative analyst office did say, they don't expect more than $1 billion or they're not recommending more than $1 billion in spending for the state, and so Governor Newsom's budget will come out January 10th, and so we'll all be watching that. But
I will tell you that this is what we invest in our kids. So whether it's good news or bad news, I'll reiterate again that we are heavily invested in the classroom, and that's what we just have to focus on. Mm-hmm. We manage as best we can so that all can take place.
And I'd also like to remind everyone that it was very challenging last year to make those budget cuts, but if we had not made those cuts, we would not make the 3%.
Right.
Not even close.
So I think that's really important to look at it historically and the work that we've done that's led up to where we are now. We're in a much better position because of what we had done.
None of us would be here right now if we hadn't have made those cuts. That's really, and the state would be in here, and they'd be just cutting left and right.
Yeah. So I just want to remind everybody and not forget that because I think that's really important.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now on to Measure U. The J1 is the approval of contracted services with Simpson Land Surveying Company for the administration building at Carpinteria High School. The service fee is in the amount of $7,000 to be paid by Measure U.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And on to K, personnel. Board is asked to approve the following recommended personnel items. May I have a motion on that?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I think if there's no further board announcements, Monica, or? Okay. Does anybody have anything to announce?
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you all. Have a good
Happy New
vacation.
Year.
Yes.
Happy 2020.
2020.
2020.
Happy 2.5 weeks of the kids being home.
Yeah.
We miss them.
You have to say that with a smile.
I do. You're right. Yay. No.
Anything else? Thank you all very much. We'll see you in the new
Well
year.
done.
Oh, you
I'd
need
like
to.
to actually, I have an announcement.
Yes, Andy.
I would like to wish Rogelio a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Today.
Oh, happy birthday.
39?
38.
All right, well, enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you.
I didn't realize.
Well done.
Well,